From the New Arts and Media Studios in Milwaukee, I'm Charles Purcell. This is The Log. And a friendly reminder, the authoritarian fascist state is here. We're living under it as we speak. We still have some ability to dissent, so there's the good news. We have to use it. If we don't use it, we're going to lose it. So all the things you and I talk about regarding civil disobedience, direct action, strikes, boycotts, etc., we have to keep our focus on that. And, I can't be, as you and I speak once or twice a week, I can't be hair on fire with every breath. I need to have some sense of calmness in my voice, even to the point of using humor occasionally, but I can't let that calmness in any way suggest that our situation is not dire, because it is dire. So when you and I talk, we'll mix in smaller stories and the news and, as I said, even some humor occasionally, just to maintain my sanity and your sanity. But please, absolutely do not confuse that for contentment or any kind of resignation on my part. No, we're in deep, deep trouble. But as I said, there's still hope. We can reverse our fortunes. They're trying to squash all dissent. They haven't succeeded yet. So we'll continue. First, a couple thoughts on some news stories. A little follow-up to last week's story. We all know that the Orange Menace spoke at the West Point cadets' graduation, and he was criticized by a lot of folks for not sticking around and shake every hand of each graduate as they walk, as they say. Which every other president has done. That's what you do. You're the president of the United States, commander-in-chief. You give a nice commencement address that doesn't include your own personal grievances or some weird self-owning anecdotes about trophy wives. Anyway, so we heard all that story. But yeah, he didn't stick around. He left, and he didn't shake their hands. Well, here's the follow-up to that story. It turns out, according to several reporters who were on this, that that wasn't his idea. Although I'm sure he was very happy to get out of there and go play golf. No, this came from within the ranks of the cadets themselves. They approached their officers and said, hey, this goes against the honor code. We can't shake his hand. The honor code says, quote, I will neither lie, nor cheat, nor steal, nor will I tolerate the actions of anyone who does. So they went to their officers and said, hey, we can't shake this guy's hand. He's been convicted of 31 felonies. We'd be tacitly tolerating those actions. It's not just semantics. I'm quoting now from somebody, a second lieutenant quoted in the article. It's not just semantics. Under our code, we can't wink at dishonor and call it ceremony. So, yeah, the cadets approached their officers, said, we can't do this. To physically clasp the hand of a man who has lied, cheated, and stolen, when our code demands zero tolerance, that's not a handshake, that's an ethical trap. That's according to one major who was approached by the cadets. And so they made this decision behind the scenes that there would be no handshakes. We'll say, thank you, Mr. President, and send him on his way. So this was initiated by West Point itself and by the cadets themselves. They didn't want to shake his hand. It would be a violation of the honor code. So the decision was made behind closed doors to forego the handshake altogether. It was a carefully orchestrated plan to protect the very soul of West Point, according to this article. So how about that, huh? How about that? Oh, mercy. Hey, some events and boycotts coming up. I'm not sure where else this is happening, but here in Milwaukee, check your local information, see if it's happening there. Solidarity Fast for Gaza, starting June 6th. I'm an older guy. I'm not sure if I'm physically able to fast. But, I think I'm going to join as best I can. Maybe just consciously and very intentionally minimize my intake. Forego any treats or any extras. Just get down to the real basics of fruits, vegetables, and legumes. And just green tea and keep myself alive. Again, I'm an older guy. I probably shouldn't fast very seriously. But I think I want to participate in this. Yeah, starting Friday, June 6th at noon. You are invited. We are all invited to join in solidarity a fast for Gaza. There'll be a kickoff event in Milwaukee at the federal courthouse, 517 East Wisconsin. And then begin your fast. I think it's a fantastic idea. Again, with any sort of action like this, you need to be very public about it. Make sure everybody knows. Share on your socials. Share in real life friendships and relationships. Yeah, the situation in Gaza has just become almost indescribable. Netanyahu and the people enabling him need to spend the rest of their lives in jail. It's just horrendous what's happening. Was it just this morning? I think it was, as I'm recording this. At least 30 people shot, Palestinians shot, trying to get food for their families. If you haven't seen the video, you got to check it out. It's just heartbreaking. Thousands and thousands of people tussling toward the trucks or the warehouses where these meager, tiny amounts of food aid are being distributed. But distributed is a generous word because there's no control of the situation. The tiny amounts of aid that they're able to get their hands on is a fraction of what the people need. Hundreds of thousands of people are on the brink of starvation. Children are dying every day. These are just the worst kind of war crimes and crimes against humanity that we've seen. And of course, the United States, as it did under the last administration and continues under this administration, is 100% an accomplice. The United States has the power, has the leadership ability to end this thing tomorrow. Along with Europe and other civilized nations around the world, we could intervene and end this thing tomorrow. But we're choosing not to do it as a nation. So, again, it's too late to ask politicians to do the right thing. We have to absolutely demand that they do the right thing. Employ every possible strategy of direct action, civil disobedience, strikes, boycotts, as I like to say, because I think it's good imagery, throw ourselves on the gears of the system and shut it down until we get the justice we demand. So, in addition to our own dire situation where fascism has taken hold, it of course goes hand in hand with the worst humanitarian disaster we've seen in decades, and we, the United States of America, are directly responsible for it. Don't tell me we have no control over Benjamin Netanyahu or Israel. They cannot lift a finger without U.S. support, money, munitions. The 31 people dead trying to get food for their starving children were shot and killed by guns and bullets manufactured in the United States of America and paid for by the United States of America. It's just atrocious. So, yeah, check your local information. See if this is happening in your area. Solidarity Fast for Gaza. Kickoff noon, June 6th. That's Friday. Other events, Target boycott, June 3rd through the 9th. Please make that permanent. A big day, also on Friday. It's the D-Day anniversary protest, June 6th. Washington, D.C. and every state capital, city hall, and town hall. Veterans protest to end fascism in the United States. All the usual suspects, 5051, indivisible.org, mobilize.us, the hands-off movement, everybody. And then the following weekend, Saturday, June 14th, another very big day, No King's Day. Again, indivisible, 50-51, everybody in on it. Protests around the nation. We want that to be a very big day. I'll recommend again The People Dissent on Substack. I mentioned that a few times. Excellent resource. So mark your calendars for June 14th. That's going to be a big day as well. And let me close with this. The regime is just filled with a bunch of freaks and dorks. And I think we give them way too much credit. Way too much. Elon Musk famously said his goodbyes to the administration. His time as a temporary government employee is over. Estimates suggest that his dodgy actions have actually cost taxpayers about $135 billion. He claims to have saved about that much, but he's actually cost that much after promising a savings of $2 trillion. Estimates also say that over time, because of lost tax revenue, it's going to cost us another maybe $500 billion. So good work, Dodgy. And you may have heard, it got a lot of press, I think it was Boston University, estimates that up to 300,000 people and counting have already died because Musk and the Dodgy Boys trashed USAID. Yeah, food and medicine provided by USAID was keeping people alive. And according to this research, up to 300,000 dead. Countless others in the future. So, yeah, they're dumb, they're evil. RFK is just wreaking havoc with public health. His Make America Healthy program is a joke, which is a shame because so much of his criticism I could get behind. Chemicals in food, big companies making horrendous profits from selling us poison. I'd love to get behind him, but he's just such an idiot. He's not basing any of this on science. He's, what's that character from The Simpsons? I'm a researcher. Yeah, anybody who says they do their own research, run. He's the drunk at the end of the bar. He's got opinions about everything, and they're all dumb. The United States government no longer recommending COVID vaccines, independent experts saying this is going to cost lives because insurance companies now won't pay. So there's a double dip of trouble here. The people who believe this idiot are going to take his advice and say, oh, I guess nobody needs the vaccine anymore. And then even those who still may want it, many won't be able to afford it because insurance companies are only required to pay for what is recommended by the CDC. Yeah, if you think you're a free thinker, if you define yourself as a free thinker and you don't trust experts and scholars, you're just being an idiot. You're just being childish and petulant. Take responsibility. Be an adult. Join the fight. Do the work. I mean, it's easy to belittle and insult, to throw shade and complain. It's easy to do your own research. You have no idea what research is. You have no idea what expertise is. This attack on scholars, on expertise, is so plainly fascist. You know, places like the National Endowment for the Arts, the NIH, literally every field of every endeavor you can imagine, science, humanities, STEM, they have expert organizations, they have publications, they have events, they have conferences, they have peer-reviewed studies. Are they perfect? Of course not. Are they prone to institutional rot? Yeah. Are they susceptible to groupthink? Of course. So critics and outsiders do have a role in policing these organizations. But whether you're an insider or an outsider, you got to be held to the exact same standard. You have to have evidence. You have to use basic reasoning, scientific method. You have to prove yourself in whatever discipline you're trying to engage in. So I'll give anyone, even a single voice, I would give one single lone voice every chance to oppose the whole world. But you got to meet certain standards of rigor, because this is where most armchair critics fall woefully short. And that's what RFK is. He's an armchair critic with no expertise, with no training, just his little Google degree. And then to take it even a step further, if you rely on your own so-called right to dissent, which you have, but if you rely on that or equate that right with proof that you're right, then you really don't know how any of this works. Yeah, I love dissent. I'm a big dissident myself in a lot of areas, but you have to do the work. Now, if you have suspicions, but you can't construct a convincing argument, then at least be humble about it. Ask questions. Not in the Joe Rogan kind of way where you asking questions is really just a rhetorical device. No, ask genuine questions and then be ready to accept answers that you haven't pre-approved. Right? So do the work. And if you can't, be humble about it. Or if you can't, be an artist where all the rules are different. You can do or say whatever you want. Put it in your art. But then it has to meet other standards. And that's up to fellow artists and audiences to determine, not you. So go ahead. Be a poet. Be a painter. They have different standards. Go for it. Have fun. But what the Orange Menace and his whole fascist regime really count on, at its core, is hate. It's so obvious that they're just attacking all of the people they assume their voters hate. So we hate brown and black people, so we'll attack them. Let's see, we've already done the CRT. We already did woke. Okay, this time we'll call it DEI. And then damned if it doesn't work in a lot of places. This capitulation, obedience in advance, this fear. University of Purdue shut down DEI. Google, Home Depot dropped Pride sponsorships. By the way, happy Pride Month. Boeing, with all of their troubles, decided that demolishing their DEI efforts would somehow make a difference. University of North Carolina, Charlotte fired their DEI administrator, basically shut down. Yeah, so it works. Hate is such a great motivator. They hate immigrants because, they're not white. I know, let's say they're taking Medicaid money. It's a lie, of course, but, great idea because we hate Medicaid too. We hate poor people. Let them die. So 2 birds with 1 stone. Kill Medicaid. And we can blame immigrants. Pretend that they're getting it. Oh my God, did you see the Joni Ernst story? On Friday, she's at a town hall. She was defending the reductions in spending for Medicaid, telling all the lies about how immigrants are getting it, and, as she calls them, illegals. Yeah, that's a red flag right there when somebody refers to another person as an illegal. My God. You don't have to have a master's in political correctness to know that that's just gross. And a woman from the audience said, because of these cuts, she yelled out, "People will die." And Joni Ernst very callously says, well, we all are going to die. So for heaven's sake, we're all going to die. Can you imagine? And then a day or two later, she doubles down. What happened to Joni Ernst? She used to be one of those sort of moderate Republicans we could sort of maybe respect. She's gone off the deep end too. She makes this video of herself walking in a cemetery with this horrible sarcastic tone of this sort of fake apology, but totally doubling down on, we're all going to die. I'm sorry you don't understand that. She makes some snide remark about exposing the tooth fairy or something, intimating that people who don't understand we're all going to die are living in some sort of fairy tale. It was just disgusting. The original incident was disgusting. This video selfie she recorded made it 1,000 times worse. Because of course we all know what the woman in the audience meant. If you kick millions of people off of their health insurance, people will die as a direct result of the cuts. Oh, well, we're all going to die. So she just doesn't care. Plus the fact that the whole thing's based on a lie. Programs that provide Medicaid or similar coverage to undocumented immigrants, there are some, but only in a few states, and they are funded entirely by state money. Not one penny of federal Medicaid funds goes to undocumented immigrants. Not a penny. So they're lying on top of being just fucking evil. But the MAGA regime has decided that their voters hate people of color, hate immigrants, so they can do or say whatever they want. Have decided that they can advance the most cruel and heinous policies because their voters have hate in their hearts for black and brown people, for immigrants. You can be cruel at the border. You can snatch people off the street and send them off to foreign gulags without due process, even if they're here legally. Can ignore the orders from the Supreme Court, which are now, a couple of months old, these orders. If this isn't defiance, I don't know what is. If it's not a constitutional crisis, I don't know what is. If it's not contempt of court, I don't know what is. Is any of this legal? Of course not. Who cares? And plus, they can frame the whole thing as a fight. Because along with hating the right people, showing that you're fighting is the other big element. Oh, people love it when we fight. That goes right along with the hate. You got to show them that we fight, fight, fight. Yeah, so not only are we fighting immigrants, but we're fighting unelected radical left-wing judges. Oh, we hate them too. Yeah, people hate judges. We can call them every name in the book. We can call them communists. We can call them monsters. But kidnapping innocent people right off the street, sending them to foreign death camps, isn't that too much? Isn't that too cruel? For our voters? No, of course not. But the other side, the Democrats, they'll call us bigots and racists. Perfect. That's just perfect. You know why? Because then our voters will think they're calling them bigots and racists, right? When the Democrats call Republicans bigots and racists, then the Republican voters think they're being called bigots and racists, and they just dig in even more, even deeper. The madder they get, the better. The matter who gets. You mean the Dems or the voters? Well, both. We want everybody mad. We want everybody angry. We want everybody hating. And we want everybody fighting. Because then the Dems will be the ones fighting for black and brown people and illegal immigrants. And they'll be fighting for the murderers and the rapists and the gang members and the drug dealers and the judges, the unelected judges. The Dems will be the ones on the side of the elite, the out of touch. The Democrats don't care about you. They care about them. Us and them. Classic fascism. The more MAGA picks fights and the more the Dems bellyache about it, all the better. It's a win-win-win for the regime. So, yeah, good plan. Who else? Oh, LGBTQ. Yeah, our voters hate LGBTQ rights, especially trans people. Yeah, we hate trans people, right? Do we really? Well, no, that would be stupid. There's no reason to really hate them, but we pretend to hate them, and we pretend everybody should be scared of them. Yeah, you got to give people other people to hate. That's right out of Fascist 101. Women, half the population? Sure, they're taking opportunities away from young men. These poor young men, they can't get laid anymore. The whole society's becoming feminized. And on top of that, they're not having enough babies. All the problems, blame it on women, blame it on minorities. But they'll call us misogynists. They'll call us fascists. What, those big $9 words? That'll just make them sound more elitist. So we just blame pretty much everybody who's not a white Christian male. Yeah. Even the Jews? Oh, no, we love the Jews. We do? Well, no, not really. But we hate anti-Semites. Yeah. That'll give us somebody else to hate. Of course, we don't really. The new head of the Office of Special Counsel, you heard about this guy? Paul Ingrassia? Noted, open anti-Semite white supremacist, hired to lead the U.S. Office of Special Counsel just this week. Oh, so we just pretend we hate anti-Semites because that seems really popular right now, with the whole Gaza thing. And then we'll pretend they're everywhere, just like McCarthy did. I hold in my hand a list of anti-Semites. And then we'll get the Anti-Defamation League to just go crazy calling everything anti-Semitic. Every anti-Israel, every anti-Zionist protest, statement, we'll just call it all anti-Semitic. especially at those elite universities. Oh, we hate the universities, those eggheads. So we'll pick fights with them. That's another two birds with one stone situation. We get to hate the eggheads and the foreigners. We'll force them all to go along with this whole DEI attack. Yeah, hate works. Hate works. So we really hate all these people? You know, I don't honestly know. I think a lot of MAGA types, especially those in power in the regime, I don't think they give a damn. I don't think they hate black and brown people. I don't think they hate Jews or anti-Semites or anybody. I don't think they hate anybody. They just like their own power. And they'll do anything to keep their own power. And they know their voters very well. It just works. Hate works as a strategy. And fighting. Oh yeah, fighting. So you got to label a bunch of people you hate, and then you got to fight, fight, fight. You got to hate scientists and experts because they're all worried about health and the environment, and they just get in the way of us making our money. We want to reverse all these regulations. So how do we justify that? Well, because we hate experts and scientists. Because they think they're smarter than you. Yep. Hate, hate, hate. Fight, fight, fight. Well, I don't hate anybody. I feel really sorry for these sick bastards. And some of them, like the Orange Menace and Netanyahu, need to be behind bars. But no, I don't hate anybody. I don't know how they came to this sorry state. I don't know how they got so damaged, so afraid, so insecure. But hating them isn't going to help. We just have to resist the regime. We have to reverse our misfortune. We have to counter with a positive vision of populism by appealing to people's better angels. They want a safe and healthy home and town for themselves and their families. All the polls tell us unequivocally that supermajorities of Americans want decent health care, education, reasonable health and environmental regulations, reasonable gun control laws. There's no right, there's no left. Everyone agrees. 70, 80, 90% at a clip agree on these major issues. So we'll offer positive populism. We don't have to get down in the dirt. We don't have to rely on hate. Yeah, it's working for them. It is. I'm the first to admit it. But I'll be damned if I'm going to join them down there in that fight. Nope, I won't do it. I'm not going to hate half the country so that my half can win. No, we either win together or we all lose. All right. This podcast available on your favorite platform as always, or go to my website, charlespurcell.com. Find me on Blue Sky and Substack. Thanks to our flagship terrestrial station, River West Radio, riverwestradio.com. Write to me at charlespurcell@gmail. And thanks to Peter Donalds, who wrote and performed the theme song. All right, I love you. I'll see you out there.